Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a bit of a mix match video, just different stuff we've been at the farm. We've been working on a new shelter mobile for the herbivores in the farm, so you get to check that out and other bits and pieces. One job I've been trying to do is, now that I got myself a workshop, it's an absolute dream. It can rain outside and it doesn't affect me, but I need to organize it and tidy it because I'm still working like I used to work when I just had this place here. Now, one thing I've been doing is I'm hoping to, at the minute, my electricity connection comes from my sister's house, so I'm trying to get my own ESP connection for the farm. And in order to do that, I'm upgrading my consumer unit. This was the consumer unit I had originally put in. This was fine when it was just like one container, but I got to upgrade it so that when I do get connected to the grid, I've got a good unit. Lucky enough, that's just the back of it. I need to tidy up these wires and just straighten them and organize them. I also have my plumbing running out here, which isn't ideal, but it's below most of my wires, so it should be okay. I'm kind of reorganizing the whole layout of the this area, the space. I'm kind of going through everything here and reorganizing stuff. I still need to run some power. That's my next job. I'm actually going to run power across here, put in some sockets and run some power into my grain store, so that we've got power in here. Hey, Jesse Bear. So it's trying to get all these little jobs done takes time. I'm pretty lucky. I'm a qualified construction teacher, so I've studied electrical, plumbing, all that, so I have those skills. I wouldn't be the best in terms of speed. A qualified electrician would like make mincemeat of me in terms of speed. I'm a little bit slow, but I can get it done, which saves some money on the farm. So my plan now is to turn this into, it's going to be a multiple use space. It's going to be a little bit of a workshop. I also wanted for using it for doing tours in the farm early in the year when the weather's still pretty rough and I can't use my marquee, so I'm probably going to set it up for that. But it's nice to actually be getting into a position where, like, I've been working out of these crates, all my tools, everything's in these crates and they're all stacked on top of each other. I've ordered some organizers and stuff so I can have all my stuff to hand where I need it. And some geese. They're heading, what direction are they heading? They're heading south. Well, they're turning into the east there now. And I assume they're heading north. Powering on. Incredible. My little milking machine stopped working and just done a bit of investigating, and it turns out it's the on-off switch that seems to be playing up on it. So I'm just going to replace the on-off switch with a simple what I use for 12 volt on-off switch, and that should get it going again. There I have it. Simple. Such a simple piece of kit. This it's pretty easy to fix if anything goes wrong. And it's 12 volts. It makes my milking days a dream. Really happy with it. So happy I've ordered a second one so I can have a backup just in case anything goes wrong. The reason why this one broke is because one of the young goats decided to get their head caught. I left the gate semi-open. She got her head caught in the cups that go in the teats and dragged it across the field for a little bit. Well, for a lot actually. I think that's what caused this guy here to fail. He just doesn't do anything when he goes in and out. So yeah, it was completely my fault for not keeping it safe out of the way. Okay, this morning's project this is going to be our new honesty box, and I gotta set it up a bit so that we've got shelves and that. I'd like to deck it out nice, but I really don't have so much time, so I'm going to get it operational first. Maybe we'll come back later in the summer and get it all looking nice. I had some floorboards from another project for another business actually. I stored them really crappy and they're a little bit bowed, so I'm going to have to leave them in here for a week or so to straighten out, and also they'll swell to the temperature of the room, which will be much better for when I put them in. So I'll come back maybe in a week and just put in a floor, and what that'll do is make it real easy to keep it clean. I'll put a mat on the step in. My plan here is to put a shelf along the back here just for storing eggs on. This won't be used for that much. We'll have probably a shelf, and then we'll maybe have a fridge and a freezer in here. So my initial plan is to get the shelf in and eggs can go in here. I will have to come back, I'm not going to do it now, but this blue hut has electricity, so I'm going to have to run some power from there to here, and then I'll probably put in a light and a socket, and I'll probably put in a sensor on the light and maybe an external light for winter time with a sensor, so that when people come to get eggs that they've got a light and they can see what they're doing. So yeah, going to get cracking. These are all recycled as well. This was actually a part of my winter nest box setup. As the farm's constantly progressing, projects and infrastructure get upgraded, and so you have the old infrastructure, and I generally tend to keep a pile of like recycled material or all these old projects, so you're constantly reusing. So even though a project might, or a piece of infrastructure might no longer be used, it gets a new lease of life. And as you, particularly with wood, as you cut up more and more stuff, eventually it ends up being just offcuts. But it's good use, and with the cost of materials being so expensive now, I'm always reusing old stuff. Just keeps the cost down and it's more practical, and that's my thoughts on it. Okay, a little bit windy here guys, but just setting up inside our little honesty box. So I've put in my floor. I got to run electricity and lights yet, but I want to get this operational this week. So just to stop taking gravel in. I was just going to put gravel in there, and Dad was like, why wouldn't you just put a bit of concrete in there, so that it cleans people's feet on the way in, and it also makes it a nice ramp up. So we just put in a little bit of concrete so it'll keep the floor nice and clean, and that's that job done. I got my little box started. I'll probably come back and do some better signage here maybe, but for now it'll do. Most people know it's here anyway. Come in, it's very simple, a little mat, just keeps the floor clean. And now our hens are just coming in delay, so we do 30s, 12s, 6s, and then we got a little fridge here, and my plan is actually maybe put in a bigger fridge here, maybe a little freezer, so in the summertime when we got meat available, and a little basket for people that want to return empty egg cartons, and everything's nice and wipeable and clean. Perfect. Beautiful frosty morning on the farm here, and I'm just heading off to pick up some new members for the farm, so gotta go collect them and I'll show you who they are. We got them home. We've got 3 Anglo Nubians and 2 Toggleworth. Toggleworths were hand raised, so they're really friendly. Now, introducing new goats to any flock is stressful for the goats in the flock, stressful for the new goats, but I've been really lucky here because we've got such a big batch, 5 goats coming in. Will be less stressful, so what we'll do is we'll actually keep them separated and introduce them. We'll keep these goats outside, the ones out there. We'll put these straight in the pen, and we'll keep a fence between them for a couple of days so they get to know each other, and then we'll let them outside together. These guys still got to learn the fence and stuff, so with any animals it's just slowly take time, get them to know each other and get them settled in. These guys are they're 1 year old now, so I'll breed them this coming October, so they'll have their first kids when they're 2 years old. The new goats are settling in well. These 2 are real pets. This is Daisy and Lily, and then that's Iru, that is Danu, and Bridget is this girl with the markings on her back and her front. They're
settling well. We keep them separated at night, more so now. I'll probably keep them separated for the next few weeks at night because these guys are starting to kid soon. So I want to give them plenty of space and be happy. But when they go outside, they're all out together. The deep litter is working well. Not having too many problems. Gilbert has a bit of a sore foot. He's a little bit of foot scald. That's about the only problem. And I think that's more to me not managing their feet. Goats do need a lot of care in their feet because we don't have particularly rough rocky ground around the farm for them to wear off their hooves. So I got to stay on top of that. And I actually, what I find best, what I need to do with him, and I haven't done it yet, is get some salt water from the sea and warm it up a little and let him stand in that for maybe 5 minutes every morning, and it normally clears up in a couple of days. It's worked for me in the past. Bedding, people probably say, oh, you're wasting a lot of hay. In Ireland, hay is the same price as straw, so it's just cheap to bed them with hay. So I just let them whatever hay they don't want. I let it fall down. If I was feeding them hay outside, I would probably put some sort of catch in under this, so I caught the hay and I could refeed it to them, so it's not wasted. But in this sense, I'd be paying just as much for bedding. I'd let it be wood chip would be more expensive. Straw and hay are the same price in Ireland at the minute. That's due to the fact that grain farmers are incentivized to chop the straw and put it back on the land, as opposed to sell it as animal bedding, which would have been done here for quite a while, for years and years. So that's why you see a lot of hay around. I'm just putting the goods in, and they've been out together for about half the day. They haven't been, not even half the day, that's why they're still kind of grazing all that. It was really stormy in the morning, but it was a nice evening, and I was down in Ardra working on the shelter, mobile shelter, so I didn't get out, and they're still a little bit hungry, but we put in fresh hay for them inside, and it's getting colder now, so we'll get them in. The little ones have all run after Neve. These guys are still a little bit hungry, so they know they want to stay out for the last of us. And he's got to get milk, so she'll be keen to go in. Just got the little 250 in here. She needs a full service. A couple of jobs that were kind of put off doing during the season. She's going to be needed. So one thing I want to do, I want to change this. This is the gear lever, and someone had cut it and made it higher for if you were wearing big high steel toe boots, and it was just a pain because it wasn't, when you went to change down, the gear stick was always higher than where I liked it. So I'm either going to cut that and put it back the way it should, but they've completely welded over here. I might even order a new gear stick for it. Filters all need to get changed, oil needs to get done. The throttle is a bit slow coming back to the home position, so I've got to check that out. Is it the cable, is it in the throttle assembly here, or is it down at the throttle going into the engine? So I'm going to check that out. I did put a new solenoid on it last year, so that should be all good, and the battery's good. So yeah, I'm going to get them few things done, touch up maybe a few places where the plastic needs a bit of TLC, give her a good clean, get her ready for the season. Got our little Honda going again. Happy out, got the oil changed. Waiting on an air filter, and I need to change the oil in the back differential. It's only small, it's like about 100 milliliters of oil. I'm just waiting on its 80W40 or 80W oil. I'm just waiting on that to come. So them two little jobs need to get done. I've fixed everything else. Replaced a couple of bolts and some of the plastics. Got the gear stick. Was able to actually move it around, one in the selector, and that's fine. Got the throttle sorted. So yeah, three things just to be done in this. There's a spark plug coming for it. There's the rear end oil needs to go in, and the air filter, and she's good to go. So just letting her run, and I'll check the oil level again once she's cooled down and she's done a bit of running. But here's the oil that came out of it. Wasn't actually too bad. Doesn't look like there's no signs of any metal or anything like that in it, and it doesn't look like there's any water in it, so that should keep her good for another year. I've just got in shipment, spent more money, but this is necessity if I want to get cows in the farm. So a good friend of the farm, James, is going to get us some young Dexter livestock, and we need to get set up to be able to handle them. So I got myself a Headget, and these are D6 yard gates, so I can make up. I'm actually going to make a mobile crush. That's going to be one of the next projects we're going to weld up, and this is going to be the gate to go in the head of it. And then I've got the gates in, so I can make pens to lead on to that, and then we can manage the animals if we need to do anything with them. And if we're moving them up to the other farm, we'll need somewhere to pen them to load them onto the trailer. So that's what I've got all this for. Okay, I just started off. I forgot to bring you with me. I'm making a shelter trailer for goats, sheep and cows. And so I'm just going to start it wheeled up. It's basically going to have two sides. So the front is going to be sheeted, and this side is going to be sheeted with cladding, and the roof is going to be cladded, and this is going to be open here, and it's going to be opened at the back. And it's just to give the animals, if it's during the summer, they probably won't use it so much. Maybe it was a real bad shower of rain, but it's more in the shoulder season. So in the spring and the autumn, that we can stay out longer in pasture because they've got somewhere to give them shelter. And so I'm just making up the chassis basically here. My plan is I've repurposed. This is a axle from the Eggmobile build, and I'm going to repurpose this and use it for this job. So we're going to weld up. This is going to make the frame. The animals are actually going to have to step over this. It's going to run, you'll see when I get it on, it's actually going to get welded onto here. So it's going to be, I think it's 16 inches off the ground, so just a little over a foot. But cows, sheep, goats, if it's raining, they'll just step over it. It just makes it way easier for engineering than trying to engineer some kind of opening that they can walk in. It's no use. My goats jump over 4 foot, or like, what are they? They're almost 3 foot gates with ease if they want to, so they'll have no issue. If there's rain coming, they'll get right in there. So my plan is to weld this frame up, then weld it onto the axle. I'll probably then weld my drawbar. I'll just come out here 900mm or 3 foot, because that's standard drawbar length, and then I'll probably run some supports just to triangulate it a little here, and that'll be our base. And we'll build up from there. We'll put our uprights. It's not going to be terribly high. I mean, I got to design it to take cows. I'm hoping to get either I'm getting Dexter cows, which aren't particularly big. So I think if the roof is 5-6 foot off the ground, it's going to be more than ample. I've planned the materials for 5 foot from the axle height, but I actually think it's going to end up being too high. It'll probably catch too much wind. I might even revise that, but what I'll do is I'll get this in place, and then I'll see what height I'm happy with. It doesn't need to be particularly high, just shelter the animals from the rain. Okay, I got this far. I'll put up here a really rough sketch of what I'm actually trying to build. That's what it looks like in my head anyway. And so you can see at the back, so this whole side here is going to be sheeted, so we're actually going to have an upright going up to the roof here, and that'll carry the sheet there. For over here, we won't have a sheet here, so we can just run an angled piece up to the top of the roof here, and that'll be fine. And we'll probably run an upright here and an upright here, maybe a little bit further along. We'll see when we put it all together. I'm just waiting now, I'm figuring out where I'm going to weld these on here to the axle. Up front here you can see we've triangulated it, so there's going to be very little weight. Like the weight of itself is the only weight in this. The animals are never putting any weight on the structure, so I only got to hold up the cladding really, which this should be, I mean, it's not going to be solid as a rock. It's going to have a bit of flex in it, but I think that's actually going to be a good thing for going over uneven ground and stuff. So we've triangulated this way so that when the pulling vehicle, more than likely a quad, we can use our winch if we're going on really steep ground, goes that way. Then these triangles keep it rigid, and yeah, I'm pretty happy. The only thing I am going to have to think about is when this here is going to get sheeted down to here, there's going to be a gap between here and the ground. I'm going to have to put some sort of hinge, maybe a piece of wood or something that I can drop down to stop draft. One, you know, when it's really blowing a gale, that there's one protection, because you don't want it where they're having to go in there. They can't even sit down, because if they lie down, say the goats or the sheep or even the cows, the one is howling in at them. So I might put a little maybe board, it's 16 inches. Might have to put like a 12 by 1 or something, and a little bit something else on it that hinges down, so that when we're moving it, we just hinge it up, move it, and then drop it back down. Now the ground is probably going to be uneven, so you're never going to get it perfect, but we want to give them as much shelter as possible, and I would probably need to do the same in the front here. Put in some sort of thing that I'll come up with something that just needs to be robust, that's never going to break, and pretty user friendly. That's, takes 2 seconds. I find if you come up with these more convoluted apparatuses, in day-to-day things, they just get left behind because they're too slow, too awkward, or generally if you overcomplicate it, it breaks down. So something dead simple. I'll put it all together and then I'll figure that out. So the next step now is we're going to weld it on to our axles, and then we're going to go up. And as I said, I don't think I need to brace it. I was wondering, do I need to put some braces like this? I think the cladding is actually going to brace it both ways. What we'll do is, it's a bit risky, but I'll probably stick the cladding on and then see what it's like. And if I have to go back and brace it, I can, but I'm pretty confident it should be fine. I mean, remember, this structure just got to support itself, and we're building it out of, this is 40 by 40 mil box section. It's strong. Now the roof isn't going to be 40 by 40. I'm going to use 1 inch 25 by 25. So the structure that's going to hold down the tin for the roof is going to be made out of this stuff, because it just doesn't need to be that heavy. The price of steel, I want this thing to last a good few years. I did contemplate getting it galvanized. Don't have the time really. We can start grazing out soon, but the weather's still kind of iffy. I really need to get this thing going because I also want to get cows in the farm soon, and I need it for them, just to give the animals a bit more shelter. I mean, I've been putting this off for about 1.5 years now of building this project. I started with some very simple designs made out of wood, but I just decided now's the time to commit to it, get a good job done, and something that's going to have longevity. That this size, so this shelter is going to be 5 meters by 2 meters. A lot of animals can fit in there in rough weather, so it's going to probably have a lot of, it's going to have the capacity for the land base I have for sure. And I'm also going to be building a mobile milk imparter, which will have additional shelter as well, and the two of them will work together. Okay, I got my uprights up. I've just stuck 5 uprights up now, and we'll see how that looks when we get our roof structure on. This thing is going to be just class. I think it's going to have a phenomenal effect on the large animals in the farm, on the herbivores. Just that ability. They really should have prioritized this more. I wasn't so worried about it because I was generally getting all the herbivores off the farm before the winter. But now that I've got goats and I'm thinking about getting cows, I'll probably be keeping them on the farm over the winter. So I'll be going further into the winter outside and earlier in the spring outside. So this thing is going to be a real benefit. To that little bit of shelter for them animals is going to be such a comfort, and less stress, less energy used, and because we're going to be moving all the time. I was contemplating putting, if I should put clear cladding on the top of it. I've ordered the cladding already, and it's just normal cladding that's coming. I'll stick that on. I'll think about it some more, and maybe in the future I might change it to clear cladding. We'll see how it goes. I'll see how strong it is. First of all, I'm kind of relying on the cladding to give it a bit of rigidity, so we'll see how it looks and how it performs maybe, and maybe in another year or two we could repurpose the cladding that's on the roof and put on some clear cladding. It's just an idea. Okay, that's the roof on. I just got to drill out my hitch and bolt that on. I'll probably paint everything first though. So we've got the we'll go cladding on here, so it'll just get screwed in there, screwed in the bottom. We're going to go cladding all down this side here, all the way to the back. I'm just going to go cladding on the roof, so then this side will be totally open. And what I've done is I've left an overhang here, so I'm trying to protect this wheel, the steel, all along here by leaving an overhang so that it won't get the worst of the weather. And it's going to be on the sheltered side. Remember, it's always going to have that side there in the front facing against the prevailing wind, or whatever the wind is that day. I've just put a little angle support on here. This is actually going to serve as two things. It's going to serve as a scratching post for animals as well, because it's at an angle, no matter what size of the animal. So a cow can scratch in it up here, a goat can scratch in it here, a little lamb could scratch in it here. So it'll double up as a scratching post, and it also gives support to this back corner. And yeah, so it's just going to come back. One last thing I'm going to do, I have a hay rack feeder that I'm going to want to hang in here. I just need to figure out what height I want it to hang, and I'm going to put in a bar along here. I'm going to decide what height I want it. I was thinking about bolting it on and doing multiple heights. I'm pretty sure I can figure out a height that is going to suit everybody or close to everybody, and I can go with that. And worst case scenario, I can change it in the future.